virtues of master, grand predecessor, and predecessor, and transmitted you, giving me the chance to share this topic today. This topic it's really a story about Ruba Shintong, the precious immortal child. And this story, I think, is actually very interesting because it's the best portrayal of karma that we can really see. So that's him when he was, I think, 2 or 3. I want to give some background. So this is his family, his mother, his older brother, and his father. His family moved from Taiwan to New York when he was 1.5 years old without him because his parents thought maybe it would be too hard to find a job or work while taking care of a little kid. So his parents left him in Taiwan with the grandmother to take care of him. Eventually, when he turned 4, his family tried to get a visa for him and his grandmother to move to New York to be with the family, basically. There were a lot of hardships to get the visa for them, and so the grandmother recalled us when he was younger, she went to go see a fortune teller, and the fortune teller told him that if Zishong, which is the little kid, lived with his parents before he turned 5, that there would be a death in the family or he'd be a beggar for his entire life. And so they think that's probably why there was a lot of hardships with the visa. And so they really missed him, though, so they sent a videotape of the family saying hello to Zishong, and they sent it to Taiwan. But when he saw the video, he started to cry hysterically and was really upset and really wanted to be with his family. And so after that, the grandmother said that the reason that he started to, cry hysterically was because they broke the 5-year rule where they saw him, or he saw them, before he turned 5. So after that, he started to get these constant headaches. He got these constant headaches and he couldn't eat. Every time he tried to eat, he would throw up. He started to act really strange and very odd and start hitting his own head a lot. And so they took him to see a doctor. One doctor said they couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. And then they went to go see another doctor, and the doctors found a bunch of tumors in his brain when they did the MRI. So they underwent one surgery first, and they tried to get rid of some of it. And then after that, they saw that he had the hydrocephalus, which is like a lot of fluid in the brain, which affects your nerves in your eyes. And so they had to go under a second surgery, but they found that it was incurable and they couldn't fix the problem. Eventually, he started to get, you could see the apparent disease showing. He couldn't really walk anymore. His muscles shrank and his legs wilted. Even in his face, you could see that there was a lot of changes. So this looks a lot different from the first picture, right? It's really sad. So originally they thought maybe he just missed them and that's why he was acting really strange, but it turns out there was a lot of other issues, health reasons. And so his mom went back to Taiwan to take care of him and spend time with him. And they said he was a very difficult patient. He would bite, scratch, and pull people's hair. And after hearing his mom saying, "Mother is the best in the world," he started to stop having tantrums and calm down and became a more thoughtful child. He could start recalling memories from when he was 1.5 years old, which is kind of strange for children to be able to recall those. His condition actually worsened, and so one of the nurses said that the doctors really can't help him at this point, that they should go find an enlightened teacher. So eventually she went to a bunch of different temples and couldn't find an enlightened teacher. And then a lecturer actually heard her story, and so the lecturer took them to a temple that honored General Guan. And they told her to do 1,000 vows to take home the holy water for Zishong. And when she was doing her vows, a bunch of strangers started doing the vows with her, and she thought it was really strange that these people were bowing for her that didn't even know her. And she asked them after, how much do I owe you to do all those vows for me? And they're like, nothing, we're doing it to help you and your family. And that's when she was really touched and decided that she wanted to, there must be something else out there, like a miracle that can help them. So she took the holy water home, and the transmitter gave her an apple to take home too and feed Zishong, even though he couldn't really eat. And after he ate it, he woke up from his coma and could actually sit up, which is really hard for him to even sit up, walk, or do anything really at that point. So then she decided that she was going to receive Tao because it really was changing the whole story. So after a while, his conditions continued to get worse, and Zishong said he wanted to go home. So she decided that there's really nothing the hospital could do for them at this point, so she agreed to take him home. And then on the way home, his lips started to turn purple, but she used 3 treasures, and he slowly got better. Like on the way home, his lips turned red again, and then she could smell incense in the car. So like at that point, she didn't know that the smell of incense meant that Buddhas were next to you. So then she knew like the Buddhas were really there, really like with them the whole time. Eventually, the mom took Zishong to receive Tao. She had to hold him throughout the whole ceremony. But when the transmitter told him to look at the center light, Zishong was able to focus on it and actually, kind of be attentive. After the ceremony, they tried to take him away because he was too little to understand the 3 treasures, but he refused to leave, and he sat in the red chair by himself like a little monk, and listened to the whole thing. And the 3 treasures was very long. The transmitters told them to cut it shorter because he couldn't sit for that long. But he refused to leave, and he wanted to sit through the whole thing and listen to it very attentively. After the 3 treasures was over, he said he wanted to stay at the temple and he refused to go home. But the transmitter said that you have to go home, you have a mission. And your mission is to bring your mother and your grandmother to the 3-day Dharma class. And so he agreed. During the Dharma class, Zishong went with one of the staff members because he was too little to sit in the class. During the break time, his mom went to go see how he was doing and saw a young girl pressing his back and trying to pass the chi energy onto him. Eventually she found out that, the girl called out Atun Azu, and Atun is the nickname that her friends used to use for her, and Azu was the nickname for the grandmother that only her husband used. So then she knew there was something special that nobody else would know to call them that. So the mom started crying and later found out that it was Immortal Li channeling in and trying to relieve pressure points and try to heal Zishong. She asked the Buddha what the cause of the illness was, and Immortal Li said he wasn't sure and he would investigate more in heaven, and said to try to print as many temple books and scriptures on Zishong's behalf to help him get better. On day 2 of the Dharma class, Zishong could start eating solid food for the first time in months, but no Buddhas were talking to them about Zishong's condition, and she didn't want to bother the Buddhas and ask them. So on day 3, Jalpa Bodhisattva, she came down and channeled. She tried to heal Zishong. And I wanted to read one page to you guys because this part is really interesting. So Jalpa Bodhisattva said that Zishong was an abbot in his past life. He was a leader of a monastery. And he couldn't reach enlightenment due to his mistake. She said that her husband and her were husband and wife in their previous life. They passed by a temple and broke the most precious thing in the temple, and they weren't able to pay it back. That was why Zishong came back into this life to resolve the unfinished business, to attain enlightenment, and to let us know what it was like to lose something precious. Now that he had accomplished his life's missions, it was time for him to go. Both of us cried and begged Jalpa Bodhisattva to save Zishong. She asked us, "Do you really want to take care of him for the rest of your lives?" She sighed. It will be impossible for him to assist in the Tao in this matter, because his brain is severely damaged. If he was an ordinary person, he would not be able to speak long ago. He's an extraordinary person and is truly beyond his realm. He is using his true wisdom to reach out to others and to build kind karma. He was able to establish good karma with your family, and you should treasure that. You have to really understand and do your best to take care of him. Many deities have already been helping him, but we cannot transgress over his own karma. It all depends on how you will build your own merits. You were a cultivator in your past lives, but you made a mistake during one past life, which took you away from the path. It's hard to clarify this chain of causes and effects right now. Even if Zishong is no longer here, you should continue to follow the cultivation path with your transmission master. So I thought that was really interesting that they got to see a little bit more into their past lives and why this is happening to them, basically. Okay, so we can, there's a lot more, so we can stop here and then I'll continue.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's okay. So we just talked about the 3-day Dharma class, and the family was able to find out a little bit more about their karma. So they realize now what happened with Zishong in their past life, why he's here to reincarnate and kind of have all these health issues. So the day after Dharma class, Zishong's legs started to get better, but overall, like you could see, his whole health was deteriorating and he was going to pass away soon. He started having seizures and went into a coma. His face started to turn black and purple and his body was very cold. His mom even used a hairdryer to try to warm up his body. So that, and the mom kept saying, if you're a filial child, then you won't leave your mother here. And so his body stopped turning black and he started to like get a little bit better. And then Zishong's father had a dream while he was in the U.S. He dreamt of Zishong and he called them to talk to him in Taiwan and said, wait 5 days to go when he turns 5. And he promised his father that he would wait until he was turned 5 years old on his birthday. After the phone call, Zishong started to pass out every half hour because of heart failure. They called all the relatives, like in this picture, they called all their relatives to come say goodbye to Zishong. Zishong said he wanted to see his father and his older brother, but his mom said the U.S. is too far. And he responded saying he'd go find them himself, and then he passed out right after that. When he came to, he said he saw them at home and even described the furniture in the U.S., which he wouldn't know because he's never been to the U.S. And so the mom was a little bit shocked and knew that he was able to like kind of travel with his spirit. Zishong said, someone's here to pick me up with grandma. And then the mom said, yeah, grandma's right here. Don't go with that other person. And then he said, no, the other grandmother, the father's mother, who already passed away. And then she said, don't go, like, don't leave. And so he kept saying he had to go. But then the family wouldn't let him. And so the grandmother walked away and told them that, you know, in Chinese culture, if you don't let someone who's about to pass away, let them go, then you're really letting them suffer. And so they started to feel really bad. And then the mother said, if you want to go, then you can go. You know, we understand, like, just do whatever's best for you. His final words was, don't cry, go to temple and pray, and congratulations to everyone. So he passed away, and then the mom said she could tell his spirit was leaving very peacefully. They kept reading the Mingsen Sutra, that's what it's called. And every time someone started to cry, his body would tense up and jerk a little bit, and the mom would yell at them and tell them to stop. When he passed away, his lips were red, soft, but cold, and he looked alive. They were a little bit sad that he didn't make it to his 5th birthday. When the mother went to go file for the death certificate, the clerk said he actually died the same day as his birth, but I guess the family remembered the birthday incorrectly, so he actually did die on his 5th birthday per his dad's wishes. She realized that she became vegetarian for her son, but she realized that it was benefiting her, that she stopped gambling, drinking, and eventually became a lecturer. Her husband eventually changed his temper and also became a lecturer. So that's a little bit of the background of the whole story. 100 days after he passed away, they did a reunion, a sandwriting reunion in temple, and they got to hear more about the details of their past life and like the karma between the family. So they found out Zishong's missions to come back in this life was to receive Tao, resolve his past karmas, and help his parents, family, and friends receive Tao. So after he passed away, all his relatives that came to say goodbye listened to him and obeyed his wishes and really did receive Tao. So during the 100-day sandwriting reunion, he talked a little bit more about in their past life what had happened. In his past life, he was born in the Qing dynasty. Zishong was an abbot of Longsan Monastery in Sichuan, China. Hui Cun and her husband were married in their past life, just like the Jiahua Bodhisattva said. They were passing by a temple and they were touching things in the temple and the altar and accidentally knocked over an urn that was very, very precious to Zishong. I think it contained the ashes of his master. Yeah. And so to him, it was his most precious belonging, and they broke it. And he got really, really upset, started yelling at them and cursing at them. And then he realized that he would never be able to reach enlightenment if he still had a temper. And so eventually he reincarnated to resolve unfinished karma during the white period where he can receive Tao and actually do reach enlightenment. So his karma was to come back into this life and let the parents know what it's like to lose something precious, which is why he passed away so young. During the sandwriting reunion, he said a lot of like how grateful he was to his family, how they were always there for him, and then he kind of told them how they need to change their behaviors so that they can reach enlightenment too. So he said that I think this one was the Buddha came down. I think it was Tietguai Li Dashin, the Immortal Li. He said that how originally they had negative karma between their family, but then Zisheng was able to turn hateful karma into kind karma. He turned resentment into compassion, was able to attain enlightenment and help others receive Tao. What Hui Tsun learned in the end was that you have to believe that God has made the best arrangement for you. When the destined karma reaches its end, then everyone will part in separate ways, which is exactly what happened, why he passed away so young. Yeah, they could have maybe stayed longer, but then Japa Bodhisattva said if he stays longer, then it's only going to be hurting everyone in the end. So she understood that it was, kind of his right time, everything happened that was supposed to happen. And eventually she had a third son. So, yeah, that's the story. I thought maybe we could spend a few minutes talking about it if anyone had questions. There's a lot of details in this book, so I definitely recommend everyone to read it when they have time. It takes you maybe a few hours to read in one day, less than a day. And it's definitely one of the best books that I've read from Temple.
So where are the parents now?
The parents are in New York still. They're lecturers in another temple. And my mom said that the mother was actually here last week to pick up one of the MP3 players. And I unfortunately wasn't here and I didn't get a chance to meet her, but she's still around too.
Has the baby come back? I mean, has he reincarnated?
No, I don't think so. I think it was just for the reunion, because generally they don't bring people back unless it's for a specific reason. Is that right? The standard?
No, he meant.
You're asking to
Yeah.
reborn?
He was reborn.
I mean, he had
Attain enlightenment.
Attain enlightenment.
enlightenment.
So he was the abbot?
Yes,
Who had lost his temper?
Yeah.
Okay, and so he
And
came
he
back.
created a karma with them, and so he had to come back and resolve the karma.
Did they have a karma together before that? Before
three of them?
yeah.
I don't
Before
think
the
so.
breaking.
Of the incident.
Yeah.
Don't
I
know.
don't think so.
No.
I don't know.
I think it was said that he was very close to enlightenment already, which means he wouldn't have any karma. But then because he lost his temper, it was probably his last test, I guess, and he lost his temper, so he had to come back and resolve it.
I think it's amazing that you get to meet a person who, actually had that type of revelation.
When,
It's so real.
I don't know if I could share some. When my son was growing little, he was around a lot of Rinpoches and eminences, and he used to always sit at the altar with them during pujas and purification. And a lot of times he would take the poison out and take it to the ocean. But anyway, he was around them a lot. And they said to me once, they said, we tested him, and he doesn't throw his anger, like they really put him through some tests because he grew with them from little.
Have you ever seen him get upset?
No.
See?
One time I really pushed it really hard. But
he still didn't get angry.
He just was like, we both just looked at each other and we started to just laugh,
Yeah, he seems very mellow.
Yeah, he loves everyone.
Yeah.
Like he won't take my side if I'm being a little bit.
Yeah, I
he
met
won't take
him.
side.
I met him when we went to propagate the Tao in Miami.
Wow.
Yeah, he reminds me of Ryan, but then Ryan loses his temper sometimes. But his whole other character reminds me so much of Ryan.
That's great.
So he's coming to Dhamma class this
Yeah,
May.
he might. He just texted me. I was supposed to go to Miami March. He might come before that too.
Yeah, make sure he comes for this one.
Yeah.
It's important.
So any more questions? I know we went through it pretty quick, but there's a lot of details in this book.
The fact because it was from brain stuff in the brain, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean that he had issues with elders? Because I remember we did a class one.
Good job. Yeah, that's right.
I mean,
As lecturer she.
Yeah.
She conducted the class.
I think it's carry over that he was met with these two, the couple, right? And then become his parents.
okay.
Is that right? Yeah. Makes sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Because That's a good question. Any more questions?
What about his siblings? How are they?
There wasn't much information other than his older brother's named Danny from that first picture. And he was in New York, so I don't think his brother met him until, you know, like even the funeral, they didn't go. So I think at that time it must have been hard to travel back and forth. It's very expensive. So just the mother traveled back.
Did the grandmother let the parents know that if they saw him within the 5 years, it could cause these things, or
She didn't recall that until they sent the videotape and remembered that you said, like, the fortune teller told us that we couldn't see each other, and they did. So she blamed it on that, but I'm pretty sure, you know, it's like their karma, so it would have happened either way. It's hard to say. That's very interesting. It's a very good story.
What made you pick the story?
I actually read this book maybe last year, I think.
Okay.
And then once you read it, you kind of forget all the details. And so when Sister Virginia was asking me to pick a class, I couldn't think of what topic I was really interested in. And then I saw this book on my shelf, and I was like, well, I already read this, and I knew I liked it, so I'll do this one again.
Cool.
I think the reading it the second time was more emotional because you kind of can focus on more of the details that you didn't really catch the first time when you were skimming through it really quick.
Thanks
So
for sharing.
It's very good. I would definitely recommend everyone to read it. I think they have a scanned copy somewhere.
Yeah,
where
let
you
me see if I
pass
can find it. If I find it, I'll text it to him and then he can send it to
Yeah, I
me.
may have it.
Oh, you might have it, yeah.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good book. I think it's probably the easiest read of all the English temple books. 'Cause it's more, it's like
It's
actual
more
colloquial
like written by
English.
someone that's
Story.
Yeah,
English
right.
speaking.
So for me, it was very easy to follow, and it draws you in, basically. It's a very good story. There's a lot of details in there that we couldn't even talk about today, but they're very good.
Yeah, this is also was the first book that I was able to read from beginning to end, almost at one sitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 50 pages, so it's pretty quick. The last 5 to 10 pages are just the scripture of like the poems that he wrote during his reunion.